Ha! Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? Wherever you are, welcome and thank you for joining in. Um, wasn't really planning on doing this video today. I mean, maybe next week. But I came across something interesting from Clownfish TV. So yeah, give them a like and subscribe because yeah, they're really cool. I actually share their videos quite a lot on our Plungecast Facebook channel. This is due to the fact that I kind of enjoy the male and female, you know, um, commentary is what I'm looking for, that they bring to the pop culture environment, right? So what I mean by that is that we we're able to get a both sides of coin perspective type thing. So I want I forgot to share this on Twitter, but I kind of wanted to talk about what they were talking about, right? Not really specifically what they said in their videos, but my you know uh, point on it. And what they're talking about was now that let me just find it here. I'll just bring it up in a second. Was I'll start again, right? Start again because yeah, I'm just not going to make sense doing this. So sorry about that. I thought I had it all sorted, but yeah, not really. So just like, let's start. So I woke up around about um, 12, around midnight. Or was it? Yeah, around that 11 or midnight. Because I went to sleep after doing the podcast. I went and tidied up some toys, vacuumed the because I was a bit sore, so I had to stand up for a while, stress it out. So I thought I might as well vacuum, and then yeah, because the house needed a vacuum because all last week I couldn't do it, and so because of having slept my disc in the back, so I started cleaning up and tidy. Did that, and then moved things around, put everything in containers, as you can see here, right? Still got to clean this area up, which is on top of this glass cabinet. Um, but I did do one area, which was like putting all the Lego figures, Star Wars and um, cop helicopters, SWAT copters, and also X-Men and Marvel and Avengers type thing there as well. And I think a nice little Hellboy figure. Some of them were Lego, some of them weren't. Right, Star Wars ones were Lego, and so on. But so let's talk about Wizards of the Coast and Magic the Gathering. Right. So the stupidity of the the stupidity of Wizards of the Coast. I think they're the most dumbest company in existence today. That has to do with something that is, yeah, that after, you know, that you think that after the orcs situation and the racism they brought to the table, right? Nobody thought of black people, dark-skinned people as orcs because we all knew they're a race of themselves, right? They're creatures created through magic, or such if I remember right, of themselves, right? Their own species. They're not human, right? They're distortion, I guess, if you could say, especially in Lord of the Rings, a kind of distortion. But what are orcs, right? Like, orcs, right? Orcs, they're the corrupted race of elves. Right? Elves, right? It's a species that are totally not related to humans, right? That's directly from an orc from J.R.R. Tolkien, right? Is a race of humanoid because they can walk and they have arms and their legs. You know, humanoid means you have the same kind of features as a human, right? You can have an alien who's humanoid, but they're still alien. So let's have a look at this stupid company called Wizards of the Coast, right? Hasbro owns that company. And if I was Hasbro, I would fire everybody that's at the top, and especially Mark Rosewater, this dude, right? This dude who has now turned tribal into type of people, typo, type, right? So I thought, like, I'll give you kind of a New Zealand perspective, Indigenous New Zealand perspective, as well as Indigenous Fiji's perspective, but also the fact that in my culture there are castes. You could say castes are almost like tribes, right? Because the caste system puts us away from all the others, right? And what is a caste, right? Let's go have a look at what's a caste. Caste system, right? It's a deplorable thing that still exists, right? India, right? First thing that comes up is India caste, right? So this is how it's spelled. So we're going to go on a magical journey into tribalism and all that stuff, and why it's important and why you should not mess with words in this century, generation, modern age of stupidity. And all this is led by ignorant fools. Majority of them are always liberal white people. And I don't say that in a racial way. I just say that's who they are, right? And then they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, right? They don't want to hurt my feelings, so they have to be gently use words to, speak in my language, to just be one of me, right? And I hate that. I hate people like, I know some people, like, there is that thing where people actually, learn about culture in a real way, in an honest way, because you can sense it when people do that, right? When someone comes up to you and says, they're looking in the eye and they want to learn, and as somebody said to me the other day, they look you in when people really want to get to know you, they look in the eye, and they talk to you as a person. And so the caste system in Indian culture, right, is very much a tribal thing, you know, even though there is actual tribes amongst us in our culture, right? I personally belong to the lowest of castes that I can think of, maybe just above the lowest of lows, if I remember right. Because my uncle a couple of years ago went and researched our line, and as mentioned, with the Robert My Burnett um, um, interview I did, discussion we had. I don't like to call them interviews because I think it deteriorates from having a conversation. Right, the conversation I had with Robert Mike Burnett, you know, a Trekkie like myself, right, storyteller, producer of films and stuff and documentaries. Um, and I just told him that, like, I come from Fiji and so on, and like in Fiji, there are many tribes, right? They would go to war against each other. In New Zealand, there are many tribes. They would go against war on each other. They're very tribal. They protect themselves. It's like Indians. They have a village. It's like a tribe. The village is the tribe. You protect your village, right? Like that song said, you can't do that and try that in a small town, right? Because that's a tribe, right? It's a group of people. And the stupidity of Magic the Gathering, right? And this guy named Michael uh, Rosewater, right? People like him who are weak-kneed lily but personalities who get to run companies and they're so beaten over the brow that they just don't want to do anything anymore, right? And that reminds me, right, of this episode I saw recently of let me see that it's Petey, Praise Petey, right? I wasn't gonna watch it because people, somebody said like it's bad or something, and it is in the sense that you don't want kids to watch it, right? It's a 15 plus. People, you know, mature people who can actually understand what's going on, which is about funny, uh, irreligious, sometimes very anti-family things in there, right? Like even there's one word like, "Oh, marriage is tradition." Marriage isn't tradition, right? I can tell you, it's got nothing to do with tradition. Marriage is about actually creating family, right? That isn't tradition. It's actually, it's actually an honor, to find someone who loves you enough to actually have a family with or get married to and choose to spend the rest of your life with, and that they don't go and, run off on you, whatever, and so on, and stuff that happens. So I want to, let me see, it's the first, if I can find it, first episode. Hopefully, they got on YouTube and they play it. This part where, um, maybe they won't, but like, gosh, but it's this part where she like starts saying stuff like that. There's this little um, situation where they're, right at the start, right? She's talking, you know, narrating it, and she's in and this is what I feel like this is like, right, with this guy, and I feel sad for him because he's got no backbone. Because if somebody can push you this way, where you try to change actual words, right, in the English language, you know, and because you it's so demoralizing, I think, and like especially if you think about all Indigenous peoples, right, and like many people, friends I have, like who are actually Maori and or whatever, Indigenous, who play um, what is this called? Wizards of the Coast, whatever. Gosh, I forgot what the hell it was called. Magic, right? MTG, right? It's a very expensive friggin' game. And when you do stupid things like this, and I'm sure a lot of people, like not a lot, but enough people walked away from Wizards of the Coast when they did the whole Dungeons and Dragons thing and the Orcs thing, right? Because it was their decision to join Orcs and dark skinned people, right? Because nobody else did. They came out and joined those words, and therefore it now became a racial um association, right? Which I find is pretty, you know, pretty disgusting in a way because that's usually what happens, like you know, with with these folks, like they basically think that they're doing well or good for people, like they um they speak they try to speak for us or and not with us. There's a difference when someone speaks with you. Hey, so this is what we're thinking about, and yeah, yeah, this is what we're thinking about. It's more, but when they speak for you, it's like this is what I think, all right, and this is what it feels like here. It's like this is what I think you should accept, right? We're going to change things, and it starts very small, and because it's pop culture. Pop culture is a way of like changing society, and that's why they do it. And I think this is what's thing, like, you know, you look at when we say like Superman and Batman, it's modern mythology, right? Because every child knows who Superman is, who Batman is, who Spider-Man is, right? Who Wolverine is, right? Who the X-Men are, right? And so that's modern. That there is like you know, modern mythology, and the idea that like you can change a language because of weakness, right? Because you want to speak for us, not with us. That is despicable. You know, I mean, I've got Warhammer in front of me, 40K, right? I mean, imagine them doing that. I hope to God they don't, because I'm just getting into Warhammer. You know, and if the Warhammer starts doing that, I'll be like, yeah, I'm just going to put that down. Not going to think about it. That's not for me. You know, it's like the same thing when they did with the witches, right? When they went and said, "Oh, you know what? Oh, we can't have like mangled hands on people's because they'll be think of them as witches and stuff." Yeah, that was maybe in the past they would. Nobody thinks that way anymore. But they had one or two people probably go, "Oh yeah, this is because in their brain they're very small. They haven't thought it out." And I've been like that myself, right? I've mentioned that I've been like that in the video. I actually mentioned that yesterday. I've even been small in my brain and really not thought about it. I had a guy today who I think was very small and is thinking like a new friend of mine, right? Another YouTuber basically, put some funny stuff online, and she posted a thing about how, man shouldn't be afraid of going to therapy, shouldn't be thinking about this, shouldn't be thinking about that, shouldn't be worried about crying, and being emotional. And I just put a line in there that said, look, modern women, modern females, right? They don't, they, they want you to do this, but when you do, they they degrade you online. They go, oh, look at how weak this person is, right? One sentence. This guy comes back in and goes, oh, you should put all your emotions online. Didn't say I did. And then I go, you know, and all this, and I'm like, did you actually read what I said? I said modern women, and this is what happens with people. Like they don't really think, or they like really actually know the meaning of words and what is being said and what is being used. Like this guy, right? What does tribal means? Tribal means that you belong to a group of people. Tribal group, right? And so you're saying that you're going to remove that and put typo, a not non-word. Like there's no such thing as a word called typo. It doesn't exist. So you're just making it up. Oh, but it's a fantasy game. Well, sure, but you didn't create it. I'm sure Mark Rosewater did not create it, did he? Let's have a look. Who created Magic the Gathering, right? Let's look at that. We'll come back to the cast. Who created Magic? Oh, maybe just MTG should do it. Yeah. Richard Garfield, right? Richard Channing Garfield is an American mathematician, inventor, and game designer. Garfield created Magic the Gathering, which is considered to be the first collectible card game. Magic debuted in 1993, and its success spawned many imitations. Right? He's alive right now. Right? So he's 20. He was born in 26 June 1963. Right? He also created Netrunner, which I think I played that. Yeah. Right. So here's someone, right, who is a custodian, right, of the game. And this is what I think. This is the modern custodians who are morons and idiots. Like Marvel, like DC, mostly Marvel and Lucasfilm. Catherine Kennedy, right, destroys everything, right, that George Lucas and Spielberg created. 40 years of history of fandom that people love. And what was the reason she gave? Well, feminism forces female. She didn't create it. She might have helped being like a coffee carrier or whatever, paper lady, whatever her thing was. And I blame George for that. That even all that time, especially and Spielberg, that all that time that they were there, that they reckon that her husband was a major player, not really KK, right? So they didn't have enough foresight or enough picking up enough language from her conversations to realize what she was going to do or what her take on what they had created was going to be like. So I blame George, right? Too busy toys, too busy running, too busy directing, not really thinking about the people he's going to leave in charge. And the weird thing is, right, with all that money that George got, like it was a 4 billion or something in the end, and all the money he gets from the toys, right, rights and all that, he could be out here freaking investing in so many new creatives, if not his own creations, right? It's like he had this only one thing, Star Wars, and which is magic, right? Amazing. Not in reference to Magic the but he had that one thing, and he basically gave it away because he wanted somebody else to run it. Yet he didn't give it to someone who was a fan of it, who would protect it, who would care for it, not someone who would make quick buck and destroy it within 2 movies even, right? It's the same thing with like Taika Waititi, right? You know, you look at that, within about 2 movies, he had destroyed Thor to a point where I don't even want to watch a movie with Thor in it, right? And it's just stupid, right? And I like Thor. I didn't like him before. I did read the comics. I think I actually own the comics, right? I know, especially the one with JMS wrote, J. Michael Straczynski, because I love J. Michael Straczynski. He's a great writer. And the artworks in that is great as well. And if you want to know who he is, he's the guy that actually goes to pick up tries to pick up the Thor's hammer in the first movie, right? So yeah. So I think when you have custodians of something that they haven't created, they just willy-nilly change whatever they want. You know, they get swayed by the loudest voices in the crowd, and they ruin things like Magic the Gathering, right? So let's have a read of this article, right? And we'll go through it. So here we go. Magic the Gathering creators ditch tribal at urging of cultural consultants. I wonder who those, these new consultants, cultural consultants. They're like the DEI people at DEI people over at Disney, you know, race swap these things because we need to see more black people. You know, we need to get rid of all this, and we'll have to have Latinos in there. Not that, you know what we should do is create some new IP and bring in new Latino, Asian, Black American, whatever, African characters, Indian, whoever, right? And put them in a leading role in their own thing as themselves, not a race swap thing, but as themselves, and this is what happens. So you got all these consultants advising, and these consultants gets hundreds of thousands of dollars to just tell you rubbish. They're not actually fans of what you're doing, because the first thing a fan would do is, how do I protect this, right? How do I protect what is here, right? Because now I'm responsible for this, and I don't want to change anything to it or do anything to it that'll bring harm to it, that'll turn the fans from not playing it, from not watching it. Because if once you turn off the fans, you turn off the money. And you then can't create more stuff when you don't have the money. Believe me, I know, right? I can't produce a comic unless I have money to produce the comic. And then from there, I'll take that money and I'll help to produce another comic. See, that's how business works. So when you got idiots like Mark out here, right, taking advice from other idiots who are only there to get money, right? And as you know, talking about that, so Redskins, right? The football team, I think, is that what they're called? They're like the football or baseball, right? Redskins. Where are they? So not the Lollies team, right? Redskins team. Washington Commanders football team, right? So they went from calling it for like decades, like since 1937, right? 90 odd years, I guess 90, 60 plus another 20, yeah, 93 years, whatever, 2 years of calling it, right, Redskins. And by the way, some of the main are like champions and winners in that team were Native Americans, right? And they had no problem with their team being called the Redskins, right? So then they went in like a year or two ago because of virtue signaling and like going, oh, we can't, it's a new day, it's a new time, it's a new modern society, here's a change. Let's go change the name. Now, there are people from that tribe saying, please change the name back, right? We don't want it to be called the Washington Commanders. We want representation that was already there, right? We already had our Indian brothers in those teams. Our ancestors were in those teams, and they were fine with it, right? And now you've changed it. See, this is because you're not consulting the tribe. You're consulting the one who wants the money, the one who's the loudest. You're not going sitting down going, okay, we're thinking about doing this, and tell me, we've had these guys through here who are champions in our teams, and they've been playing in this, in this team for, they won awards and everything. They had no problem with being called Redskins. But these guys over here, they keep going on about it. But what do you guys think? Your dad was like in it, in the team. What would he have thought? Or like, what did he say about it? They don't ask those people, right? They just go to the loud people who bangs on the door. Let me in. Here's my rate. I will tell you what needs to be done, what needs to be changed, and you'll be cool. And so you got a situation like this. Get rid of tribal, right? Let's get rid of tribal and let's put typal in there. Typal. What the hell's typal? Right? Seriously, what is typal? It's not a word, right? I make up words all the time, right? Because I'm creating different languages or whatever for the characters I create. But I still have to go, this means this, right? Because the English language is like unifies us, because it's a language that majority of us speak around the world. Probably about 80, most people, 80, maybe 70 people know how to speak English, right? So we're able to go, okay, namaste means hello, right? But typal is just a made-up word. Namaste is actual word in Hindi, so is hello in English, real words. So if I'm making something up, you're just saying, oh well, I'm going to put typal in there, and that means tribal. We know it means tribal, so why don't you just use tribal, right? Because in New Zealand, we have tribes. They're tribal, right? We have tribes all over the place. In Maori, they're called iwi, right? Or sometimes hapu, right? And so that's a tribe, right? And those tribes will go to the other tribe, go, hey, what iwi are you from? What tribe are you from? Right? Oh, my mom is from that tribe. Right. So tell us about who else do you know from that tribe? Right? Because it goes past the family, it goes straight to the group, right? Because that means that you belong to a group now, which is a tribe, right? And so there you're protected, right? Go, I belong to this tribe, and so this is my land, this is my mountain, this is my dad, this is my granddad, and this is my river, right? This is how Maoris introduce themselves, right? When they're giving speeches and say, this is who I am. That's something I had to learn, right, when I was a kid. And growing up, like, I went to a convent, Catholic convent, and part of that was like twice a week you went to learn Maori culture, right? And you learn to speak Maori, you learn how to say, introduce yourself in Maori, and so forth. And I'm like only about 11, 12, right? 10, 11. And it was cool. I even got to do the haka. I got to give a speech in Maori, and scary stuff getting in front of like all your peers are over here and all the strange schools are over there. What is now called kapa haka in New Zealand, right? And so, yeah, so this whole idea that you can just change things around and yet try to make that still making the same thing. Okay, it's mythological and stuff, but it's the same idea that you have from like orcs or dark-skinned people, right? Because now you're saying dark-skinned people are these evil things. Nobody thought that until Wizards of the Coast decided to say that, right? Made it official, announced it. This is what it means, you know. But of course, orcs are what are orcs? Let's go. Orcs are a corrupted race of elves, right? Short for hell devil, right? In Old English literature, right? Okne, right? And that's ORC dash NE, Okne, right? Hell devil. So now you're saying that dark-skinned people are hell devils, right? Okne. But nobody was thinking that. Nobody playing Wizard of the Coast stupid game, not stupid game, but stupid company, but good game, Magic the Coast, Magic the Gathering, right? Nobody was thinking that until they went out and that this is what it means, and it's such a sad thing. I think the idea that these so-called progressives, they're not really progressive, they're regressive. They are actually putting like progress backwards. I call them regressives because they don't speak with you, they speak for you, right? They make up their own thing. They go, oh, this would be good for them, and they come out and say it. They don't go, okay, let's talk to the whole everybody and what we're about to do. What do you guys think? But they don't. They just make up their own way, right? So let's have a read through this article. Not silly article, but silly first thing. Right. So news by Chase Carter, contributor, published on June 26, 2023. So this was a while back, but it's only this is when the controversies come up, right? So only recently. Right. So the Magic the Gatherings, because it's I guess it's in the games now. So it was just, I guess, 2 months ago, but because it's in the games now, people are actually seeing it on cards. It's being said, right? So Magic the Gathering's Eternal Teams apparently listed common term players use when referring to cards and decks, according to head designer Mark Rosewater on Twitter. Cultural consultants suggested dropping the tribal due to harmful connotations. Have they never been to New Zealand? We never think of tribes in the Pacific Islands or in the South Pacific as harmful. Who came up with this? Seriously, how much did you pay them? Jeez, did you console the Native American tribes? Because obviously this is an American game, right? Did you go to them and go, is it a harmful word to you? It's never been harmful. Whoever said it's been harmful is just stupid, right? Right. Harmful connotations and the popular trading card games maker eventually landed on type of people. Don't expect to see the replacement show up on printed cards anytime soon. I guess it's now showing up. Rosewater explained in his Twitter thread that the change affected internal vocabulary words only. While official blogs and other articles might mention it, MTG will avoid the use of either in rules text. Tribal began as a way to refer to cards that cared about the creature types. Yeah, a type, right? A group. Often bestowing bonuses and other things, blah, 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 right? But it doesn't, I'm not a player, but I just think this is stupid, right? It's when you, it's just pointless talking about this. Like, trying to get deep into these people's brains is just silly. So I'm going to leave that there. But I'm going to talk. What I am going to talk about is caste, which is very, very, very interesting to me as an Indian, right? So they're like in Indian culture. So I'm going to let's bring this up, right? I'm going to share this screen. It's off wiki. Wiki is not always correct, but this is pretty on point, right? So in Indian, like I was talking about tribes, right? So let's go to a job. So caste system in India, right? So this is why it's in line with what we're talking about here. That's why I'm putting it up, right? So caste. So in India, not anywhere else, only in India. That's why a lot of us, our forebears left. You have a caste system, which basically is similar to tribes, but really isn't. You can be in a village, which can be linked as a tribe, where you can have different castes in there. And the caste, depending on which one you're born into, you're screwed, right? Forever. Sometimes, right? And so you can only marry within the caste, right? So you can't have a Varna, right? Let's have a look at. So here are the castes, right? So you can't have a Varna marrying a Jati, right? So you can't have that person there marrying that lady there, right? And there's so many different castes, right? So let me see. Caste politics, apartheid, discrimination, and economic inequality, right? All these different things that you can have. Where are we? Don't really want to get too dirty. Here we go. Verdicts. The verdict Varnas are the high ones, right? They're the ones who look down on everybody, right? Then you have the Jatis, right? A bit lower, but And then you have the untouchables. You got the three castes. So you got the verdict, the priests, the rich, the landlords, and I guess more the priestly kind of things, right? And they're like, pure. And then you have jatis who are like the landowners, professors, and all that stuff, right? The teachers and all that, and they're like the upper middle class, right? And then you have the untouchables, with the poor, the workers, the field, the crew, and that's it. So once you're born into that, that's all the jobs you'll have. And it's kind of, it is what it is. But that's why a lot when the opportunity that came up for when the Europeans arrived, right, with their boats and stuff, and said, "Hey, we've just cancelled slavery," right? This is about 1860, but we have all these. I think it was around 80s, 60s, 80s, 70s. But we have all this like factories and plantations around the world where it's just going to the ground, right? They're getting, overgrown and stuff. How about you guys can't work for us and on these islands, Mauritius, Fiji, Australia, where else were they? Africa, I just mentioned Mauritius, all these places where Indians are right now, right? And so the diaspora, right? You know, and we'll give you, money. You sign up for 5 years, and you chuck you on a boat and you go over there, and that'll be that. And after 5 years, you know, you can come back if you want, or you can stay there. And those who stayed, right, really they don't have much to go back to, right? And like my family, right, you know, just above the lower crust, right? And so a lot of people came to Fiji from India, and a lot of people went to Africa and Mauritius, as I mentioned, and there's so many other islands. Guinea, I think they went to Guinea, um, but definitely Australia, right? Stuff like that. And some came to New Zealand as well, right? So what that did was that allowed people to work, first of all, and learn skill other than just being a farm worker. But because they also were a farm worker, they were also able to become better and own their own land after they decided um, to go out on their own, save money, whatever they could. It wasn't easy. A lot of them were treated like slaves, right? I did a 5-year study in it. And so research, I could say. And so when they arrived in Fiji, it was very strange because they thought they were just going over there. It was just across there, a couple miles up the road. They didn't realize it'll be months, couple of weeks on the friggin' boat, which someone would die due to dysentery, I think it was, or scabies or whatever, stuff you get on boats, um, on ships, I should say, on long journeys. And some would get, die on the boat and get thrown over the side because you can't really have dead people, you know, on the boat because you'd be, the diseases would freaking, whatever. It caused more death. And so, yeah, some just, some actually jumped off, right? Because they got, they wanted to swim back, didn't realize it was that far, they'd already left weeks on end, and it wasn't just over there. And so this, all this stuff. And then some arrived on the coast on Suva, and there was rocks, and the ship capsized, right, in the ocean, right, just at the harbor. And Leonidas was the first one I think that happened to. And some died just in the harbor, and some were saved by the locals, like indigenous Fijians who could swim, right, and swam out and saved them. And this is like 1885, right? And so I'm very grateful because imagine, the opportunities I would never have if I was still in India, if my forebears, if I was born in India society. And a lot of times people become, like you got to know where you come from, right? To be able to know where you're going. And I think a lot of times when people don't realize where they come from, there's an emptiness in them. And I've felt that emptiness in my past, right? And that hopelessness. I remember like when Greta Thunberg or something, she started talking about like, oh, you do this, and I remember what it felt like to hear that back in the 80s. Global warming's going to kill us all. We need to change everything. That fear that fell amongst all our young people, like people my age at that time, like we're like about 13, 14, and it was like scary for us. And I thought, no, not again. You know, you you make people, young kids, fearful, and they have this desperation in their heart and soul, and they become reckless as they grow up. They become reckless. They go, well, we're just going to die in a couple of years anyway, so we might as well have all the fun we want. You know, there's no hope. And so I've been around 20-year-olds who have, who are like that, like, oh, don't want to have kids, because don't want to bring kids into this world, because if we, there's nothing will be there, nothing will be there for them. And then, like, here we are 30 years later. And I think when you let people like Greta start talking on behalf of children, and yet uneducated, right? And someone who just doesn't understand how the world works, how economy works, how heat works, how coals work, how prices work, you know, how electricity works, right? You can't really have that person speaking for youth, because it's just desperation. You know, I know young people that are very smart and smarter than her, right? Yet they are more grounded than she ever was, right? And it's just this whole using that sort of mentality of creating fear. And then I saw the same thing with lockdowns, right? Like when we had to, with COVID and stuff, it was like you're creating fear. And you look at, like, oh, now schools and youth workers are saying children are so desperate, they're hopeless, and all that. I said that's because you made them feel that way. Because I was online going, dude, stop doing this, because once you get that, because I used to be a youth worker, right, for about 3-4 years, actually maybe 5, and you always want to talk about hope to kids, especially when they're young, and you don't want to make them feel despair and hopelessness, because those are the formative years, right? Young people don't come to uh, maturity, like, not maturity, but like, like their brain doesn't really develop until around about 20, right? So, and that's why I get upset with what's going on, uh, the community that we're seeing a lot of right now. That seems to be in the forefront, and there's a lot of people there. They're saying things and doing things that are dangerous, but they're doing it for their own, self. But they're using children as a way to groom them, right? And I find that disgusting. And because it's, once again, taking innocence away from children, taking away the hope and genuine, uh, safety and innocence that we should be provided for kids, and putting them in a situation where they feel hopelessness, confusion, and downright depression, right? And that's what they're saying right now in New Zealand. The kids are depressed, right? High school kids are depressed. And but guess who's responsible? Politicians, right? They're the ones who just, oh, we should put them, send them home. They can't be around their friends and stuff. Yeah, we knew straight away after a year, and actually after the first 4 months, right, that this wasn't what it was. Yet they kept pushing it. And then 2 years of that on kids, you took away all the development, their health, their maturity, their mental health, emotions, and you messed with it for 2 years, you know, and now you got desperate children, and how are they going to grow up to be? They're going to be grow up with no hope, and you're gonna see kids having kids who are also going to look to their parents, who will be hopeless. And so you have the cycle going. Let's get out of this one. It's a bit depressing, I know. So let's move that from there. So I want to talk about finishing. This is to do with part 2 of where are we? Let me get this. So we get to Jean Girard. And we'll go on from there. Jean Girard. Mr. Girard. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Hold on. It's on the right one, but I've got the wrong window open. 1, 2, 3. There we go. There's a folder. And here we go. Right, now to bring it up. Right one. Yes. That one? No, still got the wrong one. Move. There we go. That's the wrong one. So let's watch this little video from IMDb.
Je suis un joueur. Je suis un joueur. Et dans un langage beaucoup plus... Je suis un joueur. Et dans un langage beaucoup plus symbolique, je suis un flambeur. Tu vois? Les personnes qui vont au casino, qui flambent l'argent, qui dépensent tout, sont des flambeurs. Mais moi, dans le terrain artistique, je suis un flambeur parce que ce que je dépense,
So this
ce
is
sont des morceaux de mon
Jodorowsky,
de mon moi.
Jean Girard's
Je les fais
long-term
brûler.
collaborator. He would write all the stories, and Jean Girard, Moebius, right, would do the would do the artwork. And so we coming up, right? There is the reason I'm bringing that up is because
Alexandre me disait, il faut que tu manges le cœur. Le premier, tu peux pas le manger parce que il est dur.
Because
Cette femme qui est très belle,
there is
tu
a
vas
new
l'inviter
movie
à danser.
based on their
Quand tu la
work
tues, tu prends son
that's
cœur
coming up,
et tu manges
which
son
is
cœur. Mais je disais, Alexandre, je peux pas manger le cœur. Laisse-moi te montrer quelque chose. Alors j'imaginais que
the
le cœur
Incal,
c'était
right? So
c'est comme
let's have a look at that. So the Incal is being directed as is in post-production, right? And is going to be directed by Taika Waititi. And the writers on that are Alejandro Jodorowsky, right? And that art, of course, as we talked about yesterday, is from Moebius, right? And so Moebius, work with Alejandro Jodorowsky, excuse me. And the story, of course, is about an epic space opera centered on shabby PI Jean Duval, who happens upon a mystical artifact known as the Incal, an object of great power coveted by many factions across the galaxy. Now, I'm a bit worried about this, right? Because I saw what happened with Thor, Love and Thunder, and I saw what, like, as we came to know as the Fat Thor, right? A god who becomes human kind of thing. And so, it became a laughing stock. And here's a weird thing, right? How is it that you could have a naked butt of a guy on a Marvel All Ages movie, but you couldn't show bare breasts or a woman's behind on it? So the hypocrisy in that whole concept doesn't work for me. It's like, it's just so ridiculous. Anyway, so Jermaine Clement, right? He's a New Zealand comedian and writer, right? And if I remember right, he has worked with he has worked with gosh, where did I go? There we go. With Taika previously, if I remember right. Didn't they do yeah, What We Do in the Shadows, right? And he's actually in What We Do in the Shadows. So Jimon, right? So, and he's a comedian. He's great. He's been in so many different things, and he's brilliant.
It's my birthday, 2003, waiting for a call from my family. They forgot about me.
He was also, if I remember right,
Great philosopher.
this one, like this, I love this one when he was in this one. What was it called?
Like man attacks.
Legion,
self.
right?
You better watch out, you fool. Hey, fool.
My brother-in-law
Hey.
always says
Damn
that.
it. Give me an example.
The Mytos is named Teacup.
I don't like it. I'd go with Traginus.
What are you doing down here in the realm of the month? Just pick an eye, babe. I can't concentrate on what I'm saying if you keep. Yep, pick one.
So you could say, like, there's going to be a lot of comedy in this, right? And so he's a comedian, is very talented. I mean, there's nothing, you cannot downplay the fact that he's very talented, as is Taika, right? But the problem I have is, like, when you take something and you, like, make it to the lowest denominator, which Thor: Love and Thunder was, which Thor became, like, in, like, I can't even, was it like, what's the last one from the Avengers? I can't remember. It's Endgame, right? Or was it like Infinity War where he came into being Fat Thor? Let me have a look. Give me one sec, guys. Fat Thor. Right? When did he become Fat Thor? Yeah. What was up with Fat Thor? Who plays a Fat Thor? What is a Fat Thor controversy? Was Fat Thor strong? Right? Avengers Endgame, becoming Fat Thor. Yeah, so it was the last one. Right? It's just this is why I feel like this is the Inkal is going to be a joke, and it's a very important piece of art, especially with comic books, right? Comic book art. It's like Asterix, right? It's like Asterix or Tintin. You got to be very, 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 very careful, because it's a French, revered work of French literature, right? And comics. And they take, like, they don't see their comics, right? They call it albums over there, right? As children's works, right? They don't have that kind of lower denominator thing that they've done in the West. So over here you go, I do comics. They go, oh, for kids, right? No, I do for grown-ups, like mature comics, and for maybe teenagers plus, and it's like, oh, is comics a thing? And you're like, you say that in Japan, people will go, you're not from here, are you? If you say that about manga, right? It's the same thing. Like in Europe and France and so on, like, Italy and all that, they have albums, right? They come out like this. This is actually Maui, but yeah, I'll talk about that soon. So, you have stuff like this. So they come up like that, right? Big, beautiful, that's why it's called albums, right? Big magazine size, trade paperback, which, you know, the West would call trade paperback. Hardcovers, right? And great, just very, you know, depending on the age group they're writing for, very, very, you know, full on dialogue and stuff, right? You've got this one here, Blake and Mortimer, right? Not for kids, right? So these work, I mean, one of these, like this is like a while back, $15 US, right? This is from Cine Books. Cine Books publishes the albums quite a lot. And then also you have Europe Comics, I think it is, or Euro Comics. But yeah, the 9th art publisher, right? Cine Books. So they take that stuff seriously and they don't treat it like children's stuff, right? This is like $30, right? In New Zealand. This would be $30 in New Zealand, right? So it's a complete story. Whereas, like, if I remember with Blake and Mortimer, yeah, I don't think these are ongoing. Yeah, no, they are. So, like, you have like part 1 and 2, right? And so, you know, you spend like that, you see one of these like every 6 months or a year, depending, right? How quickly the artwork is done. And so you could be waiting for the next one. So they take the stuff seriously. You know, whereas like in the West, it was like, oh, you read it and you throw it away. But these are books, right? So Europeans like take, you know, their art seriously. And that's in the comic art seriously, like just like the manga, right? Japan takes it very seriously, and manhwa, so on, in China. No, manhua in China and manhwa in Korea, right? So I was lucky last year when I went to, you know, when I was doing some research about doing another convention, right? So when I went to the library up there, I was able to pick up, let's just move that. I was able to pick up a whole bunch of ex-library books for like 50 cents or $1, right? I actually ended up saying I'll pay $1 for them because I was like, you know, I get to have all these classic books, right, in my collection, and I have a large collection, right? But I don't have that many Europe books. And I looked at all this and I went, I'll take this. And then I thought, yeah, I could like give it to the kids to cut up and make badges, right? Which we, you know, when we do at our convention, and say, here, you can make badges, have these characters. And I thought, no, I don't, I'm actually going to keep these because I actually don't have them. And it'd be great to have them in a collection, even though they're ex-library books and some of them are pages are falling apart, right? But it doesn't matter. It's all, you know, it's still there. All the pages are there. They're great. And it doesn't, you know, whenever I need to, you know, read, when I feel like reading it, I just pick it up and I'm reading it. Not only that, I was able to pick up, you know, a couple Maori comics, right? Funded by Creative New Zealand, right? And all these other sponsors, businesses have sponsored it. So there's Ngāpuhi, ancestors, tribal. Ngāpuhi is a tribe. Ngāpuhi, up north, if I remember. Yeah. So I belong to a couple of maraes up north, right? A couple of tribes up north. So this is from the Kaitaia Library, right? Far North District Council, right? So who's the artist on this? Who's the writer and stuff? Right. So the book is actually about Ngāpuhi ancestors, the ancestors of that tribe, right? Ngāpuhi is a tribe, you know, not a typo, right? And so you got this amazing works in here in comic form, you know, great pieces of artwork. But it's, you know, you got a whole bunch of different stuff, right? Different styles, black and white, color, all different people doing different things here. Here's this goes like Thomas decides his 2 children, Thomas Jr. and Millicent, should learn their letters, right? You got whiskey, right? Jesu, my son, whiskey suits mine aches, you know. This is 1431, right? And then you've got stuff like that. The houses, right? The village, right? And you've got the two cultures there, the British and the Maori. Right? Comedy, right? So I just pulled this, right? Kura, dog, right? So, you know, I was able to pick up all that. And there's another one here as well. Okay. That one? Yeah, The Legends of Maui, right? This one is written and illustrated by Jason Tepua, right? And this is Maui. He has the strength of a god, the cunning of a seasoned warrior, and the determination of a superhero. He is Maui, legendary trickster, champion weapons master, and protector of his people, right? So they put in the superhero in there because they're trying to, they're trying to get the kids thinking about like, oh, superheroes. Maybe I should read this book. Like Maui was like a superhero, word association, right? Tribal. So this came out in 2005. So Iron Man came out around that time, if I remember right. Yeah, I think Iron Man came around that time. That's probably why they use the word superhero in there. Otherwise, 2005. Oh no, it came out just before 2005. I wonder who Jason is. I might, like, we're going to be doing a series, just segue here, sorry. We're going to be doing a series called, where are you? Show you. I've got that set up. It's called and it's starting October, and it's called Kiwis Review Comic Books. It's only going to be an hour long, right? But in that hour, we're going to have guests. So just for 15 minutes, it's kind of like almost like a TV hour, right? For kind of setup. So we'll have guests who are local comic book creators, publishers, and so on. Excuse me, writers and artists. They'll show up for 15 minutes, talk about themselves, or talk about the comics they like, or what they're working on, or what they're doing currently. And so we're going to do that starting October, because I just felt like that's something that we just need to do, because I'm interviewing long form a lot of indie creators from all over the world. But it'll be cool to just have a little short thing where we actually talk about comics itself, which we haven't done, but we've talked about just one-on-one creative things. So that's going to be something that we've been looking at doing. And it's already got a couple guests, quite excited, lined up. And actually 3 guests. So the first 3 weeks we've got sorted out. So we're putting out feelers for other people to get involved. And but it just depends. I'm sure everybody will watch the first 2 episodes and go, oh yeah, that looks fun, or not. So it's on a Friday night New Zealand time, 7 o'clock till 8:30. Like I say, 1 hour. And a couple of my friends will be joining and hosting. Rico's who's like a guy, who's basically has more comics, more comics than I do, and has been reading. He's a bit younger than me, but he's been reading since he was a kid, just like me, right? So, but he doesn't have the memory problem that I do. So he's the one who's going to be like, bringing book. I just go read this one and bring it across and let me think what you think, and then about it, and then so on. And we've got a couple guys who'll be doing that, and it's going to be cool because I'm quite excited about that. So let's get back to so the other ones I picked up. Oh yeah, that's why I said that. So I could have maybe find out who Jason Tepura is, and maybe some of the guys on here. It would be cool to have them come on, right, for that 15 minutes, whatever. Or maybe if you do go on to do a long form 2 hour, hour and a half interviews that I do, and be able to introduce them, to you guys on Friday nights. So the other thing that I had was a whole bunch of these origin stories, right? Of like Batman, Superman, and so on. And these are kids' books, like Scholastic, right? So because I want to also do a kids' book. It's, I grew up reading kids' books, right? So I want to do what I enjoy, and what got me excited, reading Tintin and stuff like that. We've got a series called PJ and Chibi, which is a three-panel comic strips. Yeah, three-panel comic strips. So I'll show you that, because 1, 2, 3, and that's something, like I just do whatever I feel like that I enjoy. Like, so, we did this one here with an artist, a Greek artist who's living in Estonia. 3-panel stories, right? Some of them, like, carry on part 2 and 3 and so on, like this one here, but they're still 3 panels, right? And that's because of Garfield and Snoopy and stuff like that I enjoy doing. And so we get to, base a family of bears in New Zealand, right? Migrants to New Zealand from Canada and America, and how they, how they do stuff. And then you got PJ over there, and then in the first one you got PJ, and then you've got his daughter, right? So you've got Chibi, and you got PJ. PJ, his dad in his 40s, and Chibi, she's 18. She's just finished high school, so she's looking for work. And then you've got Melina, their mother. No, that's not Melina. Sorry, that's somebody else. Where's Melina? Not their mother, her mother, right? Okay. Let me see. I think that was Stormy. Is it Stormy? Yeah, and then also you have a family of a mum who is a rabbit and a dad who's a sheep, right? Yeah. And where did Melina go? Melina is a grizzly bear, right? So this one. Oh, there she is. Yeah, sorry you can't see too much of that. Yeah, but yeah, check it out. That's actually on our Plunge website. So let me put that link there. So if you want to, yeah, that's just fun. I had an idea and I thought, like, it'd be cool. And the idea that I actually initially had changed, and then we got this, and yeah, and it was actually more fun and more better, and it was more interesting. So I'm quite, I like what it turned into, and I love doing this. I actually have a friend who's actually from Wellington, who's writing who's written about 3 or 4 of them, and I'm hoping for him to do another 13, so we could have a 32 of them, and then we can put it out as a comic book, right? Either as like a, like a little, like a page, comic book size comic, right? Or something like this, collected like this. Well, that's something else I was going to mention. Look, each tribe has their own style and dress. They might all dress a similar sort of hairband, waistcoat, whatever, skirt, but they all have, something different which defines which tribe they come from. So I don't know when I picked this up, but I picked this up because, costumes. and learning about culture and stuff like that. So when I go to create, as I was mentioning yesterday, create my universe that I'm creating with Zoolandia, I'd be able to, have something to fall back on if I run out of ideas or something, and for research. So this is another European comic, right? Written about the Wild West, right? With Indians and cowboys and so on, and got so many books, right? The same thing, albums, right? And these, like, they're expensive, man. They're not like cheap. You got great, amazing art and stuff. This is Yakari, The Great Burrow by Durab and Job. There you go. And yeah, this would be $11.95, so about 24 or 25 bucks New Zealand, plus taxes, of course. And this is, I was good. Is no God. All right, there's no God. All right, I want to be Caliph instead of Khalifi. Yeah. So this is Goscinny. If I remember right, Goscinny, isn't Goscinny the one who did that? No. Yeah, it is Goscinny. Right, Asterix, creative Asterix. Right, same dude. Right, Dabari is the artist on that, and Dursa was the artist on Asterix. And the same people, right? This is what I grew up as an 8-9-year-old kid, learning how to read English in New Zealand, sitting in the libraries, reading Asterix and Tintin, right? And just sitting there going, while I'm at school during my breaks, I'm in the library going, no, So yeah, so you got Tintin, right? And of course Peter Jackson, right? He would have read the same thing, and that's why went, oh man, made the movie, because a lot of, you got to understand, New Zealand is a melting pot, and New Zealand, we get to experience a variety of art, culture, and literature, comics from all around the world. We don't say no to people and culture and stuff like that, and it's very, very, very minute time when you actually have somebody go, oh, yeah, no, right? Because it's, in a sense, like, you miss out if you do. So this is another one from Blake and Mortimer, right? This one here. This is Yoko Shuno, The Prey and the Ghost by Roger Leloup, right? Yeah. Right. So Belgium, can't remember. So this is a story set in Scotland, right? Yoko. So you go, what? This is probably not, this is book 3. So I might have to read book 1. Beautiful art, by the way. Look. Right? Amazing. And this is, right? This is Yoko. I guess is it Japanese or Chinese? I think it's Japanese, Yoko. Right? So this is a guy from Europe writing about, sorry, I should have put that up. My bad. There's a link there for PJ and Shibi, and it's plungecomics.com. So this is a guy from Europe writing a story about a Japanese character who's the main lead, right? So this is when I say that, like, there's already characters out there, there's already original characters out there. You don't need to change something to make it something else, right? To represent somebody, because there's already characters out there, right? All you need to do is make them into a movie or animation or TV show, right? Without changing anything else. Because all these things, they exist, right? Asterix the goal, right? You got here, Yakari, right? Little Indian boy. Maui, right? You don't have to change, Spider-Man to a Maori dude, or you just go and get a Maori character that's already a superhero, right? And you get that. And of course, the most, funniest of them all, Lucky Luke, right? We grew up watching Lucky Luke, reading it in the libraries as kids and so on. And then we got to, let me see here. We got to watch the animated series, Lucky Luke, at the same time on TV. English, right? Tell me that's going to be English. Oh, it is. There we go. I'm going to subscribe to it straight away. All right. So good. I got done for music and stuff. So, and so I got to go and edit all that stuff out of them. So the cool thing is, I go to school during breaks. I'm reading Lucky Luke. I go home. I watch cartoons on TV, right? And like I said, this series where Lucky is written, right, by Goscinny, the same guy who just told Obelix, Asterix, Tintin. No, not Tintin. What's the other one? It was Disney guy. Asterix. Right? Asterix. Gaumont is so Gaumont is the publisher, right? So Morris and Goscinny, right? So Goscinny would have been the artist on this one. Or they would have both worked on it, either or. And this is why I always say, just stop race swapping. Just stop it. Right? It's just pointless. You're not furthering anything. You're regressive. Sloppy seconds, as they say, right? You're not really being progressive at all. You're actually taking things backwards, right? If you want to see representation, bring something that's already there, original representing, and put it out, right? Here you go, Yakari, right? Where are we? I didn't even know Yakari had a series.
It's your turn. Come on. Don't be scared. Scared me? Oh, please, Yakari. You two are as slow as slugs in the sand. But I live for speed. See you soon, slowpokes. I'm going down that side. It's much steeper. I'll go faster. I'll see you back at the camp. Be careful, Buffalo Pete. Yeah.
That's what he gets for being a show-off.
I've never heard him yell like that. Maybe he's really hurt.
Right. So, yeah. How can, you know, like, I want to see if this is like, if they've got one of these, like, this will be cool if we got Yoko. Yokozuno. Maybe they have, maybe they don't. You know, let's have a look, because that'll be cool. If they ever did, because I'm, you know, Yokozuno, T-S-U-N-O. I'm spelling it right, Mayfield. Yep. For sure. Maybe I have to check something. Equation loop. There's videos of people talking about it, but let me see. Kaboom. Where are we here?
Allez, ma petite, direction la planète Vinéa, dans la galaxie M33, s'il te plaît.
Inondation, vous n'avez qu'à passer sur tout. Mais vous vous rendez compte, mais mettez la boîte à lumière, mettez un point d'eau de Javel là où il y a chaque fois là, les collines.
Is Roger Leloup? Guess about his yeah.
Yoko, c'est tout un symbole pour moi parce que si elle n'est pas là, moi je ne suis pas là. Si je ne suis pas là, elle n'est pas là. J'étais fils unique et j'allais me coucher très tôt et je me racontais des histoires. Je protégeais une petite sœur, puis la sœur est devenue plus grande. Parfois, c'était elle qui me protégeait, vous voyez. Et quand je suis suffisamment grande, ça devenait plus érotique, j'ai arrêté de me raconter des histoires. Mais il me manquait quelque chose, il me manquait ou bien donner de la tendresse ou la recevoir. Et Yoko m'a apporté ça, quoi. Quand j'étais plus jeune, j'ai fait des études de publicité à l'école Saint-Luc. Et j'ai rencontré pendant les vacances Jacques Martin qui faisait Alix, qui m'a proposé de travailler pour lui. Et par Jacques Martin, je me suis retrouvé au studio Hergé. J'ai eu cette chance, parce que c'est de la chance. J'avais d'excellentes relations avec Hergé. On parlait d'autres choses, on parlait musique. Si je parle du studio, on se croyait un petit peu au-dessus des autres. Vous voyez ce que je veux dire? Parce que moi, j'ai vu des Franquin, des Robin, des Payot. Pour moi, c'était des gens, Jacobs notamment, quand j'achetais Tintin à la fin de après la guerre, c'était pour le secret d'Espadon, hein, c'était pas pour lire Objectif Lune. Hein, donc, moi, je sais dire que ce que je faisais, je recevais une page blanche avec une page brouillon d'Hergé. Et je faisais sur la page blanche, là, bon papier, les cadres et tout. Donc, parce qu'Hergé n'a jamais pris le tire-ligne pour faire les cadres, hein, donc je faisais les cadres. Puis il passait ça, il prenait ça, il mettait son Tintin honnête à l'encre, il passait de moi pour les décors, et à moi, il me les passait pour les décors mécaniques. J'ai fait le carré dans 167, Tintin avec sa mitraillette, le chevaux de Dupont, la chaise roulante du Capitaine Haddock, ça, merde à dessiner. Quand c'était fini, il m'apportait la page, il ne disait rien, voilà, je gommais la page, il me laissait retoucher. Et il y avait les coloristes après. J'ai colorié aussi parce qu'il y avait de la neige qui tombait, là, vous savez, tous les points de neige, là. Ben, on me passait ça parce que ça les emmerdait, ça leur faisait mal aux yeux. Mais je lui dis, non, vous n'avez qu'à passer sur tout. Mais vous vous rendez compte, mais mettez la boîte à lumière, mettez un point d'eau de Javel là où il y a chaque fois là, les collines, et vous aurez les trucs blancs, j'en ai fait comme ça. Oui, mais on use les pinceaux. Hein, voilà le genre de réflexion. Hergé n'imaginait pas ça, la valeur que tout ça allait prendre.
Let me get that out there, and I'll give you the name of it so you guys can see. Whoops. Hopped out there. I'm gonna have to subscribe to that because I like to watch these things because it's good to. I mean, I love experiencing all these things as I go through here because I mean, knowing that all this documentaries and talks and discussions with these artists are out here, you know, these creatives are out here because I think a lot of so-called new Marvel and DC and Disney, they don't really appreciate what's come before them. And so because they're not really good caretakers of it, right? So there's this one here, right? Yoko, right? There's a creator of Yoko, right? And talking about it and what it was like writing it, working there then, and how they went about creating these books and stuff. That's why I say these are very, they're not throwaway things. And I've even talked to Europeans, right? And ladies that we hold them in high regard. They're not like kids' things to us. They're like, they're like literature, actual literature, There's this also here, the 13. I love the series, right? It's really cool. This one here is, $11.99. So they're always produced with hardcover, if I remember right, so that you can put on the shelf and coffee tables and stuff, and not like soft cover, like the way like comics are released, 22 pages. These are usually about 40, 50, 60 pages, 100 pages sometimes. And what we'd call trade paperback in New Zealand, right, and America and so on in the West. But usually it's there's a lot, it's not smaller panels and lots of detail or simplified, but some of them might more to look like more Western style, so on. But like, check out that cover there. That's an amazing, and that's just on the back cover, right? Kill a man's quest for his past and his identity. So this is like a really, really cool series if you're into like crime drama and stuff and action. So this one here, Where the Indian Walks. This is issue 2. So, or volume 2, right? 13 is looking for a certain, so he basically washes up on a shore in America and has no memory. He's looking for a certain Kim Rowland, a woman with whom he saw himself in a photograph. His search will yield a name, right? And so on and so on. And so there was that. Is there anything else here? Oh, well, Blake and Mortimer, right? These like the mainstays, right? So you got 13, Blake and Mortimer, Yakari, and of course all the other stuff here. But then I also had this, right? The classics, The Three Musketeers, Moby Dick kidnaps, Journey to the Center of the Universe, Earth, sorry, Dracula, the Man in the Iron Mask, and so on. This is Knowledge is Power, right? The most greatest thing. So this has got glossy, semi-gloss pages, and it's, of course, it's from the famous literature, right? Novel of the Three Musketeers. I actually remember my dad had like these really old like hardcover ones, and there was 3 of them, the Man in the Iron Mask and so on. And I don't know what happened to them, because I know I held them in high regard. And so I'm sure they might be back at home with my parents. But yeah, so this is a bit more, because this is literature based, you got a lot more text here, narrations and stuff like that. So this is, I forgot to show you. So this is the name of the documentary with well, not documentary, but interview with Creative Yoko, which is Roger Leloup. Okay, where are we? Goscinny, right? Seriously, Goscinny is one of like this gentleman here, right? Brilliant. I mean, like I said, it's did Asterix, he did Isn't God. What else was there? Hershey did. Yep, and Lucky Luke, right? And I missed one more. Nope, that's about it that I have anyway on hand. But I'm sure he's done more than that. But yeah. So as a writer, right? So Goscinny is a writer, and he's got all these other guys doing the artwork and stuff. It's kind of like me. I'm coming up with all these ideas, and I get everybody else to do the artwork and stuff. Right. So the other thing you can, like, if you're over at, at plunge.com, there is also free and critical webcomic you can read, which is issue 1 and 2 of the webcomic. So let's I'll show you that so you can see it. Because of course we've got the number 1. We've just finished the Kickstarter for it last month, and we're looking to. We're working right now to make sure that we get everything done and ready and prepared and published, printed, and get it to our backers, right? So let me see. Let's go have a look at issue 1. So this is done like a webcomic. So it's done about like 10 years ago. So the new stuff has changed, right? The new stuff, the new work is totally different. So this is here for free if you want to read the first 2 issues of the webcomic. And let's go back. I can get you that one. There we go. So that is the link for that. And with that, I did want to share something else. And before I finish, about Moebius. And also this cool little vid from, but before that, this cool little vid from WDW Pro channel. And it's about physical media and how not doing physical media has cost, right, $40 billion a year since they went to streaming, since they decided to do streaming, right? It has cost $40 billion a year deficit in their bank accounts. So when they said, oh, you know what, we're not going to like license out our series to somebody, like say like cable, like Sky and stuff, like we won't let Sky play, say like, She-Hulk, whatever. We're going to show it on our own show. They didn't get the revenue from that, right? Because what happens is, not only would like Sky, they would give it to Sky, they'll give it to other stations, they'll give it to England, they'll give it to France, Canada, Europe, change it into that language and so on, and they bring it over to New Zealand, and so on, and Pacific Islands. All that money they would have made, which amounts to about $40 billion, they have lost every year ever since they decided to go, you know what, we'll do streaming. Yes, we'll forget about all this and we'll just do streaming. So this is the link to that. it's really worth watching. It's not too long a video, but it's really worth watching there. So in the title, I'll put up there so in case you want to search it by title, it is Hollywood's Collapse Under the Weight of Streaming. I saw it yesterday after while I was vacuuming, and I thought, man, imagine losing that much money every year just because you thought you could compete with Netflix, right? And because Netflix was doing well, you thought, you know what, we'll jump in on there, do it well. Not that the fact that Netflix spent about from the ground up building and learning all the things on what was working, what wasn't working, and what would work. Because really how Netflix did was they bought licensed product, right? They bought it off Disney, they bought it off Marvel, with the Netflix, they produced that one. And it was, if you notice, the product that was coming out of Netflix, because they were actually careful with what they were doing with it, is much better than whatever Disney did on their own TV shows. So the latest is Ahsoka. After the first two episodes, after the first episode, 50% less audience than on first episode, right? So that's how fast it's dropped. Like nobody cares about. It's like they tried it out and went, "No, this isn't for me." That was it. So they've destroyed that brand. The Star Wars brand has been destroyed. But I want to play a little snippet of something else that was said on this. It was said by Culture Casino, right? So he says something very interesting. So let's have a listen to this.
So the promise of Disney Plus has never been fulfilled, and there's no future for it to be fulfilled.
Yeah, just to add to the detriment here to the Disney company. I know we sound like black pills on the Disney company.
No.
Disney Disney Plus is best sold as a babysitter service, to put it cynically but succinctly. And if Disney Junior content, their premium label preschool content, is in doubt, according to most traditional conservative families, that leaves Bluey. And if Bluey is not on the service, then all that's left is that now tainted Disney Junior brand name.
Ooh. Well, I really think that
that one. So sorry, it was like it was John there, wasn't it? John? Yeah, Jonas. Sorry, Jonas Campbell. And the weird thing about that is that only on Monday. Right, only Monday, I was actually talking to my friend because we went grocery shopping because I needed to get some exercise, and so I said to him, they've lost the shares because taxi driver was driving us and he was talking about shares and I was talking about my shares, right, and stuff like that, and so we started talking about shares, and I said when we got out, I said to Jason, I said, "Hey, I just heard, excuse me, that Disney's shares went down over the last 3 years from $200 US a share to $83 last week." So not only is their shares down, the value of what they're worth is down, because you can't, buying and selling. So somebody who bought it for about $200, now it's only worth $83. Not $83 out of 100, $83 out of 200. So with that, right, you have not only that, you also have this, right? You have this collapse, Hollywood, under the weight of that. And a lot of that is Disney money as well, right? Billions is from Disney because there's only about 4 or 5 studios, right? Like big media companies that actually own the entire media corporation in the entire world, right? And so those 6, basically, this is the $40 billion they have lost between the 6. Now, on top of that, the share losses. But I also said to Jason, the reason that would have dropped is because of the babysitter element of TV from Disney, and which is kind of interesting that this was mentioned yesterday, which was what, Tuesday yesterday. So the day before I mentioned this, I said to Jason, you know, dude, a lot of people are turning off and canceling their memberships, their subscriptions, whatever, because they can no longer trust Disney. That trust that they had, that they could sit their child down while they do the dishes or laundry or whatever, right? Or iron clothes, whatever. Like this, I'm talking about mom and dad, but you know, you're doing stuff. Now you can't, because it's been tainted over the last couple of years, because the executives have come out and said, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. Boys aren't boys anymore. Boys are girls now. And those little kids that are watching, and the parents that are hearing that, they go, nah, we will buy you old stuff instead of have you watch TV. Off goes Disney, and then they go, you know what? Let's go get old physical stuff before this old DEI shit take over, excuse my language. We'll go and get you old Snow White. We'll go buy that DVD. We'll go get you Fantastic Four, right? We'll go get you Lego before they actually, started doing messy stuff, right? We'll go get all the stuff. We'll go get you Transformers, right? Before the new, this silly, I watched something yesterday from Transformers, I think was, I can't remember the name of it now, but like, yes, didn't feel Transformers, right? And we'll have that. And rather than whatever they've been producing for the last 5, 6, 7 years, right? We'll go backwards. And so that's, so the old media, people are searching it out. When I'm noticing that isn't those old kids' DVDs that were there about 2 weeks ago are not there anymore, right? They're not, right? You're not going to see them. And so people are basically, I'm talking about thrift shop, because that's where I go a lot of times to just pick up old media, right? Like this, $2, right? $2 for Fantastic Four, right? People who used to own old media, right? Oh, we'll go watch streaming, right? Now that's on streaming, I don't have to worry about it. This is all taking spaces on my shelves and stuff, Now they're going back and going, oh, I think I better buy that stuff. It's probably, they can be trusted, and that is what is destroying Disney. They can no longer be trusted being the babysitter. And that's when I saw that yesterday, I was like, I was just talking to Jason about that, and yeah, so Disney, you can't trust your kids with Disney anymore. You can't babysit them. And, niece or nephew, you can't have them watching it, because, you're like, you got to go, well, what are they going to say next? What are they trying to put out there? And as much as everybody thinks the world is liberal and stuff and all that, when it comes to kids and parents, they're really careful about their kids, because they know that they have a responsibility to raise them a certain way, but they don't want their heads messed with when they're kids, right? Especially when they have the chance to be with them in the home, because a lot of the time they're out there at school and so on, but in the home they have, it's a confined area where they actually have a say in, right? And in that home, that's where they, as I mentioned earlier, where the kids actually grow around their parents. That's why it's very important that there's a dad in the home and there's a mum in the home, right? So that there's family both there, because they balance each other out. Well, at least they're supposed to, right? So that is, and so when they're busy, Disney Channel's on and Disney Junior, but then now you've got like people talking about whatever, and putting that into kids shows, adult conversations and kids shows, And of course, parents don't want to hear that, right? And then there you go. Off goes the subscription. Off they go to buy old media, right? New old media, right? And you end up, people like me, not finding what we want because like old Snow White DVD that was 2 weeks ago is gone now, right? Because nobody wants a new Snow White movie. You know, he's a stalker. Maybe you didn't watch the movies again, like maybe watch it. Yeah. But, you know, it's that sort of stuff. So parents, you know, they love their kids. It's their progeny, right? It's their most important thing they have. Those who don't feel that way are basically bad parents because they maybe were brought up by bad parents and so on, whatever it is. But really, I mean, even me, right? Like, I don't mess with my niece and nephews, like in the sense of like, hey, watch this, watch that, whatever I'm watching, you can watch. No, because I have to make sure that whatever, if I'm watching an M movie and my nephew comes in, I go, okay, we're going to switch it off because I respect them and their age and what they're allowed to watch at that age and what the parents, are allowing them to watch, right, and so on. And so that's all I got to say about that. Like Disney chose this, right? They chose this battle, and they're losing. And I don't feel sorry for them, but I do feel sorry is for the theaters, the workers in the theaters. I feel sorry for all the workers who don't make the millions, who don't get $9,000 a week, right? Who barely can pay, right? Like pay their bills because they're like they just like carpenters and stuff, or they make props and stuff. They don't get millions to run around in cars. They don't get $100,000 gift for showing up to the Oscars because they screamed to be at the Oscars, right? They don't get to scream and yell and host. They just do their job. They clean, they mop up after everybody else, dump the rubbish, take the trash out, whatever, bring their coffees, but those guys are the ones who are losing in all this, right? But all these millionaires who get to be on a show for a couple of hours a day, whatever, or for a couple of months, and that's it. But these other guys have to keep working, right? They can go on a holiday for about half a year and they'll be fine. Nobody else can do that, right? Because they got to work day in, day out to pay bills. And I think this is where we're at. That's why I don't feel sorry for the actors. I don't feel sorry for the writers, but I do feel sorry for everybody else who's a cast, who's working there, crew, I should say, not the cast, the crew, right? And a lot of them shouldn't even be there. Like the cast shouldn't be there. Like, I think it was, gosh, I can't remember now. Chris Gore, right? Talking to him like, he's like, there's too many people here in Hollywood. There's too many actors. There's just not enough. Everybody wants to be a freaking actor and, be making millions, but there isn't enough room for them. There isn't enough stories or shows and stuff. And a lot of them, this is the weeding out, right? So all the strike is doing is making those people who thought it was going to be easy and their talent would work. It's a test to see whether they would stick to it. But in their desperation, they could destroy their lives, right? By like going totally bankrupt by just saying, oh, I want to be an actor. I want to be an actor. But it takes a lot of effort to be an actor, and not everybody can make it. It's like a 1%, right? 1% out of all those people are the ones who are actually in movies that are blockbusters, right? And so anybody else is just an extra, right? Or now, especially now, right, when you've got movie stars going to TV because of streaming, right? So people who would stick to there, and then you have the lower, like the middle range of TV actors, you'd go there. Then underneath that, you'd have the people who did stage. So you had those three levels. So you could say that, but now it's all squashed together. And so now you got all this, everybody fighting for the same breadcrumb. And now you have the strikes. And so, you know, it's a weeding out, man. Like, you know, there's just looking at it from the outside, right? Not an expert. I'm just looking from the outside. But that's what I think. It's just, you know, they don't. These guys have lost 40 billion a year annually, right? That's just that. Now their share of prices that they could make, you know, bank on, that's all gone, right? $120 a share US. That's like around about 200 New Zealand, I think, you know. But yeah, that's what it is. You can't really, you know, you don't have, that's why they don't have the money to give to them, to pay people who aren't even talented, right? But they want to be there because that's what the union says. Talentless people in the room wanted to get paid, and the people who are going to pay them go, we don't have enough money, and we're not going to pay you all. So, and we don't think you're talented enough. But your union's saying that we have to do it anyway. So we're going to tell them no. Anyway, that's all I got to say for today on that. But thank you for joining me wherever you are. Be well, be safe, and we'll catch you next time. Ka kite anō, guys.